Oh. Mwah. Hi, Leather Rokk here. Welcome to my channel. If you'd like to learn how to clean your makeup brushes and how to sterilize makeup, you've come to the right channel. I am going to teach you how I do it. And this is an idea suggested to me by one of my subscribers, who is Dark Angel Ash Grim Reaper. Thank you very much for your suggestion. We YouTube creators love it when our subscribers give us ideas for video content to create. It makes our job easier. What we do is a labor of love, and if you don't love it, you shouldn't do it, right? So stay tuned. I'm going to teach you what I know. And at least it's nice that Cassie came back in. You know, I really like it when my cats are in my videos. So, first thing I'm going to talk about is sterilizing your makeup brushes. Now, I hope you know by now that it's really important to keep your brushes clean. They touch your face and they touch your makeup. And we get grime and dirt and germs throughout the day. The wind will blow grime on our faces. And you will do your makeup in the morning or whenever it is you start your makeup. And if you're doing reapplications, touch-ups throughout the day, all the germs and the dirt that the wind blows on your face when you sweat, and it oxidizes your makeup and the dirt and everything. And when you touch up your eyeshadow and you touch up your cheeks, then what you're doing is all the extra germs and contamination that touched your face during the day get on your brushes again. And then when you put them back into your makeup, you see that you contaminate and you get germs, and nobody wants that. That's why I wash my brushes every night before I go to bed or in the next morning. I do it without fail, because the last thing we want is to germ our makeup and ruin everything. So there's more than one way to do it. I'm going to give you some ideas. Now I'm going to show you some of the props that I have. This kitty here is actually a pitcher, and it's got water in it. This dish right here also has water in it. Now this is a little Chinese dish for like condiments and things, and this is going to be used for the makeup cleaning portion. In addition, I have a rack here that's usually used for cooling cookies, and it's also technically the rack for my toaster oven. I like to have a lot of extra racks because they have so many uses. I also have here a basin of cold water. This is technically a salad bowl. And I have some cleaning supplies. Well, the first thing we're going to do is going to encourage Cassie not to drink out of this stuff here. I can't find paper towels, so I got some tissue, some napkins. I think these are from McDonald's or something, you know. Any tissue or napkins will work, even toilet paper in a pinch. Now, say I'm done for the night and I want to wash my makeup brushes. Sometimes I will actually separate the brushes into the brushes that have something very light, like a white eyeshadow or I hear you, Cassie. Here, she's clawing paper off the window. All right, you've got your window exposed. You happy now? Anyway, where was I saying? I like to separate my makeup brushes into the very pale colors and the dark colors because it makes it easier to tell that they're clean. And when I wash my brushes, I think it's very important to use cold water, because sometimes brushes have glue in them. And if you use really hot water, you can actually loosen up the glue that helps to keep the brushes intact, and you don't want to do that, especially considering that some people spend $30, $40 on a single makeup brush. Those people are not me, but I know people do it. So regardless of whether you get your brushes from the 99-cent store or whether you get them online from expensive companies, you want to take care of your brushes. Your brushes should last you 5 years, 10 years, or longer if you take care of them. So the first thing I like to do, I will use almost any kind of soap. If you want, you can use an antibacterial like a Dial. The thing is, that most doctors recommend that you don't use antibacterial soaps all the time on a regular basis, because they can contribute to resistance to antibiotics and things. And the last thing you want is that, especially with diseases that we have now like MRSA and other things that they don't have the antibiotics don't work on anymore. And if you use antibacterial soaps all the time, then what happens is if you do end up needing antibiotics for something, they might not work as well. Also, some studies have shown that if you use antibacterial soaps regularly, they don't really necessarily prevent your cuts and scratches from getting infected. If anything, they seem to attract the bacteria to them even more. I don't know if that's totally true, but that is what I read. So you might want to save the antibacterial soap for the times when you need it the most. Like we like to have one in every bathroom. If I'm cleaning the litter box, I will use antibacterial soap. Occasionally I will spot treat some of my hand laundry with antibacterial soap, but I don't use it all the time. I'm just bringing it out here to show, because you rarely need antibacterial soap for your makeup brushes. So for those intents and purposes, I'm going to use a normal non-antibacterial soap. And I like to get my brushes wet. You know what, maybe I should move the camera so that you could actually see what I'm doing here. I have this computer balanced on a cardboard box to make it a higher level so that it's more flattering, so it doesn't look like you're looking up my nose or checking out anything that's an unflattering angle. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here. I like to take my brushes. Now this had the highlighter on it, so this is a lighter color, and this had white eyeshadow, so this is a lighter color. So I'm going to start with those, and I like to get the soap wet and the brush wet. Now I wouldn't be normally doing it in my room like this. I would actually be doing it over the sink. And I do get the brush directly on the soap. Some people don't do that because they think that even rubbing soap on brushes can loosen up the glue. I haven't found that to be true. Depending on how much color is on, do that and you'll see the color come off on the soap. Now for the ones with more color on them, I'm going to, again, you want to wet your soap. Keep wetting your soap because when it's dry it doesn't seem to do as good a job. I'm going to get my hand closer to the computer now so you could see this. When it has a color on it, now this, especially when you've used a pot gel eyeliner, it can be a bit of a challenge to get the color off, because especially if they're waterproof eyeliners, but even a gel waterproof eyeliner pot will still work, and you could see the eyeshadow is coming off on the soap. Sometimes you do the other side, and then you feel to make sure. You can tell if the solids, like from a gel eyeliner, are off on the brush. Now these are dark brushes. They're all the way dark so you can't tell. Some brushes have a white tip on them, which is annoying in a way, because I noticed that it shows that sometimes eyeshadows will stain these brushes, and then what happens is it's a bit of a challenge to know that you really got it clean, because you're pretty sure that you've got all the eyeshadow off of a brush, but there still seems to be a residue. And if you find there's a residue, just wash it again. Wash it until they're clean. It's like anything else. You really want good, clean makeup brushes. Now, I don't have the benefit of running water here, and I have to be careful that no soap suds go into the cat's food bowls underneath me. When I have things what I think to be clean, now I see I think I should have had one more bowl rather. You would be rinsing these under running water. Again, keep your water cold, and it's also good to keep the brush bristles pointed down. And especially during the drying process, you never want to hold your brushes up like this, because you don't want the gravity to make the water go down, and that again could impact the glue that's used in the brushes. So we've got to rinse these. So here's what I'm going to do, since I didn't bring that extra bowl of water that I hoped I would. Now I'm going to hope that this is enough clean water to make up for the fact that I'm not using the sink and the running water. And if this were running water, we just pretend that it is. And also, you want to wash the handles too, because your hands are not going to be germ free unless you freshly washed them. So the tips of the brushes, because especially if when you are using them, you put them in a holder like mine where they're upside down. Yeah, wash every soap and water, wash everything. And now, for the sake of the brevity of this video, let's imagine that they are in fact fully rinsed. Okay, if your brushes are fully rinsed, and I'm sticking my hand in here to quote unquote fully rinse it, and then I will take this water. I didn't use all of it. Let's imagine that these are fully rinsed. I'm sure they're not totally, but let's imagine they are. Then I like to shake them. Then I like to get that rack out. Now, in one of my roommate's bedrooms, she has a rack for clothes drying, and it goes about this high, and the poles are like this. There's like 4 poles here, then 3, then 4, then 3, something like that. Anyway, if this were the big rack that we hang our clothes on, I like to first of all have like a pair of socks here, and then a pair of socks here, and then you lay these brushes flat. Again, the last thing you want to do is hold them this way, because it'll get the water get stuck in this area here where the glue tends to be, and you can ruin your brushes, and nobody wants to do that. So now I'm going to stick these back behind me, which is actually one of my alternate places for drying my brushes. And especially since the time that I'm recording this, it's 2:57 in the morning, which means my roommates are asleep, and the last thing I want to do is go into a bedroom and wake up a sleeping roommate. It's bad enough I kind of did that last night when Comcast shut out when I was trying to work on my computer, and not only was the internet on, but the phones were dead too, and we don't have cell phones, so it's pretty scary, because what if there was some dirtbag was doing something in front trying to break in, and I couldn't call 911 because the phone went dead. So I think our Comcast totally sucks. That's just my opinion, and I wasn't planning on making a video complaining about Comcast, but there you have it. You know, with my channel, you never know what you're going to get. The next thing, well, let me take a drink of iced tea first. Next thing I want to show you is some ways for cleaning your makeup. I don't know if you're like me, but you ever have a makeup palette and you trip and you drop it on your floor, on your filthy, dirty carpet, and of course it's going to be like buttered toast. The makeup's going to fall upside down on the carpet. What do? You don't want to throw it out, especially if you're paying top dollar for these fancy palettes. There are several ways of approaching this, and let's talk about it. I have some things assembled here. I always like to have antibacterial wet wipes. You don't need to use a name brand, as long as it's antibacterial. The most common ingredient used is something called triclosan. And again, this is one of the similar things. It's like I believe that's also what's in antibacterial soap. So you probably shouldn't use these all the time. One of the safer bets for sterilizing things is isopropyl alcohol, also known as rubbing alcohol. And they have different percentages of strengths here. If you can, get yourself the 91%. They do sell as diluted as 50%, especially in dollar stores, but that doesn't quite kill the germs to the degree that 91% will. Just be advised that 91% is flammable, so keep it away from heat and flame. Don't have it near candles. Alcohol can have fumes, which are called volatile organic compounds, and fumes that can cause a flash fire, and nobody wants that. So that also means don't have it open too close to your computer, because computers, the heat sink where the hot air comes out of, you definitely don't want there to be combustible fumes nearby. Now, matter of fact, I had an incident that happened where I did drop a makeup compact, and it was a company called ColourPop. I got my It's My Pleasure compact, and I don't know, the shipping, we have really bad shipping where I live, and I have a feeling that the mail service people may have given it a bumpy ride. Well, this fell down onto my floor. I put some of the pans back, but the ones that I could not put back, one of them crumbled completely and fell on the floor, and I was very, very upset with that. Here is what you can do if something like that happens to you again. Now, let's say I drop this on the floor, face down on my filthy carpet. Here's what I do. An easy thing is to open up your alcohol. All right, now first I'm going to get this tea away from here because I don't want to contaminate my beverage with alcohol, because rubbing alcohol will cause serious gastric disturbances if ingested, which means it's poisonous. Don't drink it, kids. Take your rubbing alcohol, and you find this has a convenient pour spout. It's really great. It's almost like what you would use for salad dressing. Now I just pour it onto the pan. Each pan, pour it on each pan, cover it completely. Then you let it sit. It will take some time, but it will evaporate. Just let it sit. And matter of fact, clean all the surfaces. Later on, I would also go and get some antibacterial whatever and clean the lid, clean everything. Then what you do is you just let it sit. Let it sit for 2-3 days till it evaporates completely. There's a chance that it might, where you used to have a flat surface where your makeup is, it might be a little bit choppy afterward, especially if any of the shadow breaks up and you have to press it back down. Let it sit a couple of days and it will dry. If it dries, you might end up with something that looks like this. This is from that It's My Pleasure palette. When I dropped mine a couple of days ago, and some of them came all over the place. Well, this is one of the pans that actually some of the crumbles did come out, and I did put it back. Some of the crumbles fell onto my carpet. Some of the crumbles actually fell onto a clean magazine. The one shadow, this one fell onto a clean magazine. So since it was onto a clean magazine and not onto my floor, I did take the crumbles, scrape them up, and I put them back in this tin. Then I put the rubbing alcohol on it. I let it sit like 3 days. And if you can see what it looks like now, you will see it's not totally flat, the makeup. It's a little bit choppy looking, but it is dry. It takes a while to dry, and if you use this rubbing alcohol method, it shouldn't really change the consistency of the eyeshadow too much. Now, don't hold me to that as a promise. Not every eyeshadow has the same formulation. Even among the powder, the pressed powder eyeshadows, some of them are creamier, especially if they have a lot of glitter in them. So, but for the most part, if you use this method and you let it fully dry, you will be able to use it as normal. In the event that the surface becomes harder, well, then you just may have to use your brush on it harder during the application process. But it's certainly better than wearing something that's contaminated and getting it on your skin and getting yourself a nasty bacterial infection. Nobody wants that. Now, say you don't have isopropyl alcohol. There's other ways to do this. Let's talk about them. If you shop at dollar stores, sometimes you can get these spray cleaners with bleach. You want to make sure that it says with bleach. These are really good all-purpose cleaners. I love to have them around the house. They're great, especially in the kitchen. They're great in the bathroom. I have used them as an emergency when I couldn't get access to soap and water. Now, here's a way that you can use them, this, to sterilize your makeup. And let's find another palette that I can use to do that with. Okay, here is a Max Factor palette. that, okay, it's missing a pan. Again, through dropping them, happens to the best of us. Now, you can just take your spray cleaner with bleach, hold your hand out, spray it directly onto the eyeshadow. You'll see that it's totally submerged. Look. Now, you see it like this? Just let it sit. Let it sit 2-3 days, maybe as long as 4 days. That stuff will evaporate. When it evaporates, you will have sterile makeup. Now, what happens if you drop it down on the floor, on the carpet, and it's not deep in the pan, and some of the carpet actually really touched it? Well, if you got something scuzzy on the surface of the makeup, just take a piece of tissue, wipe off the offending contaminants, like if it's a pet hair or something, just wipe it off, put your spray bleach on there, let it sit. Let it sit. Things will evaporate. That's the best thing you can do. Now, say you don't have spray bleach. You got to sterilize your makeup compact or something. What do? Okay, this is where you get your real chlorine bleach. You get a dish, a small dish. Put some water in it. Now, this is where you got to do some kind of measuring here. And I want to move the pet bowls out of the way so that I don't poison my cats while I'm showing you what I got to show you. Now, some people say that it's not good to do this in the lids, but I'm going to do it, and I haven't dropped dead yet. Pour your bleach very carefully, because this is straight bleach here. Pour some in the cap. Now, this is this easier pour version of it that I think it has a thickener in it, so it doesn't splash so much. Any kind of bleach will do. Okay, I don't need that much. This is such a small amount of water in this dish. This is not even a 1/4 cup. It's less than that. So since there's such a small amount of water, you only need a small amount of bleach. That's all you need. And I'm using my finger in this. They say that your skin should not be repeatedly in bleach solution for too long, but a little bit won't hurt you. Okay, I've got this tray of bleach water. Now, let's find another makeup palette to ruin for you guys. Okay. All right. Say I dropped this on the floor and I contaminated this. Here's what you do. Now, you can use your fingers or you can use a brush. I don't like to dip brushes necessarily in a solution like that, because brushes, the glue, a strong bleach solution absolutely can damage and destroy the glue in a makeup brush. But let's see, do I have something I can use? Okay, I will use, just for the sake of argument, I will use a mascara spoolie. I've been using that to clean food out of cat's fur anyway. So take your, imagine, if you will, here, let me adjust this camera again. Imagine that this was a makeup brush. Dip it in the bleach water, then dip it onto the eyeshadows. Do that until you have them covered. You know what, actually, here, go ahead and pour it onto your compact. Have everything submerged. Keep in mind, if any of this bleach solution gets on the carpet, it might bleach stain your carpet, unless your carpet is this ugly, disgusting, different shades of gray that's designed to not be obviously showing pet stains and stuff. So you take that bleach solution, you pour it on top of your makeup compact. Just like with the other ways I showed you, let your makeup compact sit. Let it sit until all that liquid evaporates. It might take 3-4 days. I don't know. I would think that maybe alcohol would evaporate faster than a bleach solution, but it will evaporate. When it evaporates, you'll find that the bleach solution will kill the germs. just like I showed you before, if you have some particulate matter on top of it because you dropped it face down on your carpet, just wipe it away with a tissue or a paper towel first. Then put your bleach solution in. Let this evaporate someplace where your pets and your kids won't get at it, because obviously you don't want that problem. And now, while you're at it, clean off the edges of your makeup palettes. Use any of those sterilizing methods. Clean everything up. Keep your stuff clean. You don't need to risk getting facial problems, skin issues, bacterial contamination. Why risk it? Keep your stuff clean. If this was helpful, give this video a thumbs up. If you like me and my content, I'd love to have you subscribe. I make 3 new videos a week for your viewing pleasure, and my cats and I would love to have you along on our adventures. Until then, talk to you soon. Bye.